Imagine for a moment that there is no darkness capable of holding you. Imagine that no fall, no mistake, no deep pain has the power to keep you buried. Because within you, even if you sometimes forget it, lives an ancient, luminous, indestructible force, the power of resurrection. This text unveils what for centuries remained hidden in plain sight, the words that lift you, restore you, and rebuild what once seemed lost. Inspired by the timeless teachings of Emmet Fox, you will enter the sacred territory of resurrection decrees, spiritual formulas capable of breaking inner chains, dissolving mental shadows, and calling you back to life, even when you believed there was no way out. Here you will learn to awaken your true identity, to summon the creative force that dwells within you, and to speak decrees that act like divine lightning, opening paths, healing wounds, and returning you to the place where you always belonged: wholeness, peace, and purpose. Prepare yourself. This is not a text to listen to passively, it is a rebirth, a calling, and an ascent. Welcome to Resurrection Decrees, the words that lift you from any grave, a place where you discover that with every decree, light returns to you, and you return to life. There is a miracle greater than the one many hope for at the end of their days. It is the silent, humble, and powerful miracle that occurs each time the sun rises on the horizon and your eyelids, overcoming the weight of the night, open to a new opportunity. No, resurrection is not just a mystery locked in the past, a distant story we admire and fear. Resurrection is the key to daily life. It is the most human and the most divine act we perform, dying to the old each night and being reborn to the new each morning. For a long time, we were taught that resurrection was a unique event reserved for the end of times or for a few chosen ones. It was seen as the exception, the miraculous intrusion of God into the unchanging routine of the world. But today I invite you to look beyond that. I invite you to recognize that resurrection is the foundation of existence, the very pulse of creation. And each night when you close your eyes and release your consciousness, you die to the story you were. Each morning, upon waking, you hold in your hands the divine opportunity to write a new page, to become a renewed being, to manifest the kingdom of God here and now. This truth is not only poetic, it is practical, concrete, and daily. Think about it. How many times have you gone to sleep weighed down by failure, resentment, or doubt? And how many times have you felt, even if only for an instant, that at sunrise everything could be different? That instant, that space between the last dream and the first thought, is the portal of resurrection. There, you can release the bindings of yesterday and answer the voice that calls you, rise and walk. The story of Lazarus is far more than a miracle that happened in Bethany. It is a living metaphor of the inner process that awaits us every day. The tomb where Lazarus lay is your mind when it is trapped in obsolete patterns, thoughts of defeat, automatic habits, stagnant emotions. The bandages that covered his body are the limiting beliefs that prevent your movement, your creation, your joy. And the powerful, loving voice of Christ is not merely the voice of the historical teacher, but your higher self, the divine spark within you, commanding with authority. Come out, leave the past, live. I have seen how this principle, when applied sincerely and consistently, works miracles where hope seemed lost. I remember a woman who struggled with depression for years. Every night she surrendered her life to exhaustion, believing there was no more. One day she decided, upon waking, to repeat with each ray of sunlight, "Today I am reborn. Today is a new day for me." It was not instant magic, but it was a daily work of resurrection. After weeks, the shadow receded and life began to flow again. I know a man who fell into addiction. He lived in the tomb of habit, wrapped in the bandages of guilt and self-contempt. He discovered that he could declare each morning his right to a new life. He used the strength of a morning ritual, replacing poison with prayer, impulse with conscious action. Day by day, he left the tomb behind. Today, when someone asks him how he did it, he answers, "I rise. Every dawn." That is my secret. I have seen failures that seemed final transform into stories of victory. People who, after losing everything, understood that the true miracle was not restoring what was lost, but resurrecting their identity, their faith, their capacity to love and serve. Because every day is an invitation. You will live as one dead in life, or you will dare to rise. Release the bindings and walk toward the light. This book in your hands is not philosophical theory, nor an intellectual exercise, nor a refuge for dreamers. It is a practical manual, a compendium of exercises, rituals, decrees, and testimonies designed to be applied from the very moment you open your eyes. No matter your age, your past, your current circumstance, no matter how long your night has been, nor how thick the stone of your tomb seems, resurrection is within your reach. It is in your mind. It is in your soul. It is in every sunrise. Prepare then to enter the miracle of renewed life, the miracle that happens at every dawn. Because today, as yesterday and as tomorrow, the voice of Christ continues to say, "Rise and walk." The daily resurrection, rise and walk. Based on the teachings of Emmet Fox, we have noticed that more than 80% of those who visit our channel are not subscribed. You can support this project by pressing the subscribe button and liking the video. Thank you for inspiring us to continue creating more and better content for you. Before we continue, let me remind you that if you want to learn how to use the law of attraction to improve your life, I've created a completely free guide for you. You have the link in the description. Are you ready to transform your life? Chapter 1. Conscious Death: How to Die Each Night. Daily death is a sacred act. I do not mean the cessation of breath or the physical departure of the body. I mean a deeper, more intimate, more transformative death. The conscious death of the illusory self that has accumulated unnecessary thoughts, borrowed emotions, unresolved offenses, and pre-stored anxieties. To die each night is to be reborn each morning, and those who do not know how to die properly at the end of the day will never know how to truly rise with the new dawn. Many wonder why their lives do not move forward, why they feel as if they drag invisible weights, why their nightly dreams are cloudy or disturbing, why they awaken feeling unrested. The answer lies in what they carry to bed. It is not the body that does not sleep. It is the mind that will not release. It is the soul that has not been cleansed of the day. They sleep, yes, but with emotional corpses beside them. They sleep with anger, with guilt, with defeat, with fear. They sleep with the past alive in their chest. And there is no true resurrection without a real death. Most humans live as if the day was separate from eternity, as if the mistakes committed under the sun were perpetual, and unresolved conflicts should be kept under the pillow as a deserved punishment. This is not spirituality, this is ignorance. The truth is that every night is a private final judgment, where you are judge, witness, and redeemer. If you know how to die properly when you go to bed, you will awaken not only rested, but transformed. A powerful key appears in Scripture, in Psalm 4:8. "In peace I will lie down and sleep, for you alone, Lord, make me dwell in safety." This is not speaking of drowsiness. It speaks of peace, not a peace obtained through medication or avoidance, but an internal peace born of total release. Do you want to learn the art of dying in peace each night? Then begin here, right now. No theories, no unnecessary mysticism, just a clear, powerful, and sacred practice. The nightly burial. The nightly burial is a 10-minute ritual that becomes the gateway to the kingdom of heaven within you. It is performed every night before sleep. It requires nothing more than your present consciousness, your willingness to let go, and your fidelity to the truth. I will teach it step by step, but first, I want to reveal an ancient mystery. In the book of Genesis, it is told that Jacob, in a moment of deep crisis, used a stone as a pillow to sleep. Genesis 28:11. At first glance, it seems like an insignificant, rough detail. But it is symbolic. The stone represents the mental hardness we accumulate each day, the rigid ideas, constant judgments, heavy thoughts like rocks that we do not know how to release. Jacob lay upon his hardness, accepted his burden, and in that state saw a ladder rising to heaven, with angels ascending and descending. Upon waking, his consciousness was different. He had slept upon what had once tormented him, and the Spirit spoke to him. Do you see the lesson? If you place your mental stones beneath your head without releasing them, your sleep will be a prison. But if you acknowledge them, surrender them, and lie upon them in surrender, heaven opens and your soul ascends. Now the nightly burial. 1. Silence. Shut out all external noise. God's voice does not shout. It is heard in the quiet. If possible, turn off the light as well. Let nothing distract you. 2. Review of the day without judgment. Mentally walk through each scene of your day, from the moment you opened your eyes until now. Do not judge, do not analyze, just observe. You are the silent witness of your existence, Accept all as it was. 3. Liberating forgiveness. Forgive everyone, even those you believe do not deserve it. And above all, forgive yourself. Say it mentally. I forgive you and I forgive myself. I release you and I release myself. I choose peace. 4. Declaration of death to the past. Now visualize each scene, each mistake, each pain entering a tomb of light, a tomb that transforms them, and declare with authority, this is finished. It is dead. I will carry nothing of it into the new day. I bury it in the peace of God. 5. 4-7-8 breathing. Inhale through your nose for 4 seconds. Hold for 7 seconds. Exhale slowly through your mouth for 8 seconds. Repeat 4 times. Feel the ego dissolve. The limited self dies gently. The body surrenders to rest. A student once told me, Emmet, I suffered from insomnia for more than 12 years. I tried everything. Nothing worked until I began burying my days each night, as you taught. Now I sleep like a child, and upon waking, the world no longer weighs on me. Do you see the power of this practice? Sleeping without having died to the previous day is to continue living in the past. And no one can create a new future while dragging the funeral carriage of unresolved memories. Now a powerful decree to seal your nightly surrender, nightly release. Decree, in peace I lie down and sleep, for God is my peace. I declare dead all that no longer serves. I release every foreign thought, every judgment, every fear, every guilt. This day has fulfilled its purpose. I entrust it to love. Tomorrow I will be born anew. So it is. So it shall be. Repeat this decree each night before closing your eyes. Do not speak it mechanically. Feel each word as if it were your last prayer, because it is. This self who prays now will not awaken tomorrow. The one who awakens will be another, freer, wiser, more truly you. And now, if you wish, recite with me this burial prayer. Eternal Father, I have lived this day with all that I am. I have been right and wrong. I have loved and feared. I have spoken and stayed silent. But now, as your child, I leave all of this in your hands. I carry neither triumph nor stumble. I will no longer bear what has passed. I declare this day finished, this character dissolved, this ego asleep. I cut all mental, emotional, and spiritual cords that bind me to the past, and I surrender to rest with trust. For you, my God, are the life that renews, the peace that consoles, the silence that transforms. Resurrect me tomorrow in your image and likeness. Amen. To sleep this way is not merely to sleep. It is to enter the Holy of Holies. It is to rest in the heart of God. It is to prepare for the resurrection of a new day like Lazarus, rising gloriously from the tomb. Now you know how to die. Do it every night, because only those who have learned to die will truly know how to live. And tomorrow, God willing, we shall rise together. Chapter 2. In the Tomb of Unconsciousness, the Sacred Sleep. Sleeping is not merely resting. Sleep is entering the inner temple where the soul meets God. While the body rests and the conscious mind shuts down, the subconscious awakens and acts without interference. In that pure state, without masks or reasoning, the infinite intelligence that never sleeps begins its silent ministry of restoration. Many believe sleep is a pause, a meaningless interlude. But sleep is truly God's workshop. It is the tomb where the old disintegrates and the new is conceived. It is the sacred laboratory where the chaos accumulated during wakefulness is reordered. Therefore, I affirm with the clarity that comes from spiritual experience, that sleeping well is not a physical luxury, but an act of faith and power. Lazarus was in the tomb for 3 days. 3 days without responding to the external call, 3 days when all seemed lost. But in that mystery of confinement, in that apparent silence, God was at work. And when Jesus cried, "Lazarus, come forth," he did not call a corpse. He called a transformed soul, a man who had been worked upon in the inner planes. Do you know how many days you spend in the tomb each week? Each night you are placed in an invisible crypt, not to be condemned but to be healed. But the tomb can be a prison, or it can be a womb. It all depends on how you enter it. Most people sleep like the dead without hope of resurrection. They go to bed with their minds racing over tasks, fears, and unfinished conversations. They sleep with the television on, with the phone in hand, with social media still active in their minds. They have not released their daytime consciousness, and their sleep becomes a battlefield. Restless dreams, night terrors, teeth grinding, insomnia disguised as rest. Upon waking, their eyes open, but their soul has not returned. They walk like zombies, completing tasks, responding to greetings, going through the motions, yet still inside the tomb of their unconsciousness. The body has moved, but the soul has not risen. Have you felt this way one morning, opening your eyes and feeling the weight of the world still upon you? That happens because you did not surrender your mind to the holy sleep, because you did not give God permission to work in you. The conscious death we learned in the previous chapter is the key, but what occurs inside the tomb is even more mysterious and miraculous. While you sleep, divine intelligence enters your subconscious and begins reorganizing thoughts, emotions, images, memories, impulses, everything you accumulated throughout the day without order. And if your nightly surrender was clean, if your prayer was deep, it can sow new ideas, new life, new possibilities within you. Here I want to reveal a secret that transformed my life and the lives of many of my students. What you impress upon your mind just before sleep becomes the seed that grows while you rest. Joseph Murphy taught this clearly. The subconscious is fertile soil, and the ideas you plant before sleep multiply like yeast in dough. What you think just before closing your eyes, what you feel as you surrender to sleep, will be molded during the night and manifest in your waking life. Therefore, before you sleep, do not give your mind to fear, resentment, or problems. Do not review your mistakes, analyze your debts, or dwell on illness. That is giving your subconscious to chaos. Instead, create a new reality with words, with images, with emotion. Impress your mind with affirmations of light. Here is a script for nocturnal impression to whisper mentally as you enter sleep. Do not recite it mechanically. Feel it, visualize it, charge it with emotion. Nocturnal impression script. My mind is sacred ground. Now I plant only thoughts of life, love, and abundance. Everything I experienced today has been part of my learning. I release it. Now I surrender this temple to God. While I sleep, the Holy Spirit orders everything in me. I am healed, renewed, strengthened. I awaken in victory, in joy, and in wisdom. Thank you, God, for your work in me never ceases. And what happens while these words rest in your mind? Neuroscience is beginning to discover it. During deep sleep, the delta phase, the brain activates repair mechanisms. Neural connections are restructured, emotions are metabolized, learning is consolidated. This is called nocturnal neuroplasticity. But for those of us who know the kingdom, it is more than that. It is the living work of the divine mind restoring the inner temple. Lazarus did not rise by the power of his muscles or human will. It was the call of Christ that brought him back. And that same call happens every morning if your subconscious has been cleansed and preserved during the night. Listen to this. You can solve complex problems while you sleep. This is not fantasy, not superstition. It is a mental law. Many of my students, when faced with difficult decisions or tangled situations, applied the technique of conscious dream incubation, formulating a clear question before sleep and allowing the answer to come during the night or upon waking. A businessman facing a financial crisis wrote in his journal, "What is the next right step I should take to save my company?" He repeated the question softly before sleep. Upon waking, he received a clear, unexpected impulse that changed everything. The answer came effortlessly. A mother worried about her rebellious child asked, "How can I love him without losing myself?" At dawn, she felt an unknown peace and knew exactly what to say. The soul does not sleep, only the body does. And in that interval, if you step aside, God speaks. Now I invite you to practice the following exercise every night. The nocturnal question exercise. Before bed, take paper and pen. Write a single, clear question, no more than one. Example, what attitude should I take in this situation? Read it aloud softly 3 times, then close it with the phrase, God already has the answer. I will receive it at the perfect time. Surrender your mind to sleep with this certainty. Upon waking, before moving or looking at the clock, recall what you dreamed, what you felt, what you intuited. The answer will come in some form, word, image, sensation, or idea. Do this for 7 consecutive nights. You will discover that the kingdom of God manifests in the silence of the subconscious when you stop interfering. Sleep is not wasted time. It is the laboratory of the eternal. It is the divine womb, the tomb where the ego enters, and from which it can emerge renewed. And you decide, will you continue to sleep like a corpse, Or will you consciously enter the sacred tomb to rise in glory? Remember, the quality of your nightly death determines the glory of your morning resurrection. Do not go to bed without cleansing the altar. Do not sleep without consecrating the temple. Do not waste the gift of sacred sleep, because while you sleep, God resurrects you. Chapter 3. Lazarus, come forth, the call of the higher self. Every morning is a call. An invisible voice rises over the silence of dawn and pronounces your name. It does not speak with human lips or sounds audible to the physical ear. That voice resonates in the depths of your being, like a bell calling the sleeping soul. Come forth. But not everyone hears it. Some rise without their soul. They sit in bed like Lazarus, still bound. They move their body, but their spirit does not awaken. Their eyes are open, but their consciousness remains in yesterday's tomb. They either have not heard the voice or they have heard it and not obeyed. When Jesus stood before Lazarus's tomb and cried in a loud voice, "Lazarus, come forth." John 11:43. He was not speaking to a decomposing corpse. He was speaking to the Christ sleeping within the man. It was not an order to the physical body. It was a metaphysical command to the soul imprisoned by its own limitations. And that same command repeats every morning, each time the sun crosses the window of your room. You who have slept in old beliefs, come forth. You who have forgotten your divine power, come forth. You who accepted emotional death, ruin, fear, come out of there. Do you hear it? Most people awaken unaware of this sacred moment. They open their eyes, and before remembering that they are children of God, they ignite their worries, their tasks, their pains. They already revisit defeats, anticipate conflicts, recall grudges. They leave the bed with the eyes of their soul still bound, living the day without clarity, without direction, without faith. It is impossible to walk upright when you are still wrapped in the bandages of yesterday. Resurrection has been announced, but it has not been obeyed. This happens because they do not understand a fundamental principle. The first seconds upon awakening are the most powerful of the day. That is when the bridge between subconscious and conscious mind is still open. What you think, feel, or decree in that moment will be the seed that bears fruit in the hours to come. This is 0 hour. Joseph Murphy called it the 0 moment, the first 60 seconds after awakening. At that moment, the subconscious is still receptive, malleable, like warm wax. The door between soul and world is still ajar. It is the time to plant decrees of life. If you plant fear, you will reap anxiety. If you plant gratitude, you will reap miracles. Most people waste that sacred instant. They rise with a tired sigh, with a negative thought, with the alarm or radio screaming news of tragedy, or worse, with automatic complaints. Monday again. I didn't sleep well, I don't want to get up. Do you know what that does? It keeps the tomb of the unconscious from opening fully, leaving the eternal Christ no room to manifest. The body walks, but the soul remains in shadow. But you are no longer one who walks without rising. You have read these words to remember that you can respond consciously to the call of your higher self each morning. You can awaken like Lazarus, not bound, but with the spark of resurrection on your lips. Here enters the power of the resurrection decree. It is a verbal formula, simple yet powerful, spoken the moment you open your eyes. It is not a prayer of supplication, not a request. It is an act of conscious creation. Remember, the first words you speak each day are a command to the universe. To help you, here are 3 resurrection decrees. Use one each morning, then alternate them with your own intuition. Only one per morning, but speak it with faith, decision, and soul. Decree 1. This is a new day, and I am a new being. Today I rise from the tomb of the past. Christ lives in me. I rise in power, peace, and purpose. Decree 2. Life calls me, and I respond. I am saved from darkness into light. My steps are guided by wisdom. My mind is free. My heart is at peace. Decree 3. I resurrect into love. I resurrect into abundance. I resurrect into truth. Today I walk as a child of God, and all things are given to me in perfect harmony. Say one of these decrees as soon as you awaken, even before fully opening your eyes. Let it be your first word, before the phone, before coffee, before the mirror. Now I will teach you a visualization exercise to seal this practice. Morning visualization. Emerging from the tomb. Upon waking, before sitting up, close your eyes and visualize yourself rising from a tomb of light. Feel that you have been sleeping in a closed cave, and now a loving voice calls to you. come forth. You rise, feeling the bandages fall from your body, the light surrounding you. You take your first step with gratitude, and the world is renewed. You are no longer the same. You are the one resurrected by your inner Christ. Do this for 30 seconds, that is enough. It is not the time that matters, but the intensity with which you live it. A young man suffering from severe depression once confessed to me. Every morning he awoke with a knot in his chest. He hated opening his eyes. His first thought was, "I can't go on," until he began saying a single phrase upon awakening, "Christ lives in me." Nothing more. By the third day, he rose differently, as if something inside had shifted, and that small spark changed everything. Never underestimate your first thought. It is the cornerstone of the temple you will build that day. Now, as promise and practice, I give you the 7 decrees of the dawn. Memorize them. Recite one each day of the week, one for each resurrection. Monday, God raises me with purpose. Nothing from the past has power over me. Tuesday, today I am light and all I touch flourishes. Wednesday, I resurrect my mind to truth, my body to health, my soul to joy. Thursday, this day comes filled with invisible blessings. I am ready to receive them. Friday, I'm not afraid to live. My faith is greater than any shadow. Saturday, God speaks to me in every moment. Today, I listen and obey. Sunday, Christ has risen in me and I walk in the power of his light. Every time you speak these words upon awakening, you break the stone of the tomb. Every time you choose to respond to the call of your inner Christ, your day elevates, your consciousness clears, your soul smiles. Do not leave your bed without rising. Do not walk bound. Do not live as if you are still asleep. Tomorrow, the universe awaits your decision, and God, like Jesus before Lazarus's tomb, calls to you with eternal love. Come forth. Will you answer? Chapter 4, Unbinding the Bandages, Liberation from Limiting Beliefs. When Jesus cried, "Lazarus, come forth," the miracle occurred. Life returned to the body. The soul, which seemed extinguished, re-entered the temple of the body. The dead man had risen, but that was not enough. The next verse, John 11:44, adds a crucial detail. And he who had died came out bound hand and foot with grave clothes, and his face was wrapped with a cloth. Jesus said to them, "Unbind him and let him go." Here lies a profound truth that many overlook. Resurrection is not the end of the process. It is only the beginning. Lazarus was alive, but still bound. He had risen, yet he was not free. The same is true for you. You may have awakened spiritually. You may have felt the spark of the inner Christ. You may have begun your day with decrees and prayers. But if your feet are still bound, you cannot move forward. If your hands remain tied, you cannot create. If your face is still covered, you cannot see clearly. Lazarus's bandages were not ancient textiles. They are modern beliefs. They are the thoughts you inherited without questioning, the ideas you assumed unconsciously, the affirmations you repeat without knowing that they bind you. Every bandage is a lie accepted as truth, and like all lies, it has power only until you illuminate it. What are your bandages? The bandages of the feet symbolize limitation in movement. They are beliefs that tell you, "I cannot move forward, I will never get out of this situation, change is too difficult." The bandages of the hands represent limitation in action. Beliefs like, "I am not capable, others do it better than me. I always fail when I try something new." The shroud over the face represents limitation in perception. It is not seeing possibilities, not recognizing good, not acknowledging your own greatness. Phrases like, "Life is hard, God has forgotten me, people are cruel. I do not deserve good things." These bandages are not just words, they are mental, energetic, and cellular structures. They live in your body, your emotions, your environment. And until you recognize them, you will continue walking like Lazarus, alive, but immobilized. That is why Jesus did not say, "Leave him." He is alive. He said, "Unbind him and let him go." Today that command resonates in your soul. Unbind yourself and go, and I will show you how. The bandage inventory. First, you must identify your bandages. You cannot release what you do not recognize. For this, perform the following exercise called the bandage inventory. Take paper and pen. Write the key areas of your life: money, health, relationships, work, spirituality, self-image. Under each area, answer honestly, what was I taught about this as a child, and what do I automatically think about this today? What phrases or thoughts limit me in this area? Example, money. Money is dirty, rich people are selfish. It is never enough. Money is for others, not for me. Health. All the women in my family get cancer. Age brings illness. My body is fragile. Health is a matter of luck. Do this without judgment. Simply observe. Each phrase is a bandage. It does not matter who taught it to you. Now it is yours, and you can release it. The unbinding process. 4 steps. Recognition. Name the bandage clearly. I recognize that I have the belief that I will never be enough. Questioning. Ask yourself, is this absolute? Who taught me this? Has it been helpful or limiting? Are there proofs otherwise? This step breaks the spell of the belief. Release decree. With a firm voice say, this belief no longer serves me. I release it, I unbind it. It has no power over me. God in me replaces it with truth. Installation of new belief. Create a new conscious thought to replace the bandage. I deserve prosperity and receive it with gratitude. My body is designed for health. Love flows freely to me. Repeat the new belief several times a day. Write it, visualize it, fill it with emotion. This plants it in your subconscious as a seed of freedom. The prophet Isaiah wrote with the authority of the living word. Is it not to loose the bonds of wickedness, to undo the straps of the yoke, to let the oppressed go free and break every yoke? Isaiah 58:6. Unbinding the bands is true spirituality. It is not suffering. It is not sacrifice. It is releasing the false, the old, the inherited, what no longer aligns with your divine identity. A student once told me he lived with chronic back pain. He had tried doctors, massages, therapies. Nothing worked. In a class on beliefs, he discovered that his mother had repeated to him as a child, "You must carry the family." Without realizing, he had done exactly that, carrying guilt, worries, and responsibilities that were not his own. His body manifested it. When he identified the belief, questioned it, and released it, repeating, "I only carry what God gives me, and it is light," within 2 weeks the pain disappeared. The bandage had been unbound. Bandage burning ritual. I invite you to perform this symbolic and powerful act. Write each bandage you identify on a piece of paper, 1 per line. Read them aloud. Then say, "These beliefs are no longer mine. Today I unbind them with power and gratitude. Today I choose freedom." Burn the paper in a safe container. Watch the fire consume it. Feel the lightness it leaves behind. Breathe deeply. You have released layers of bondage in seconds of consciousness. Divine unbinding meditation. Morning practice. Upon waking, before moving, close your eyes and visualize yourself standing. Feel that you are still carrying bandages. A loving voice says, "Unbind yourself and go." First, the bandages fall from your feet. You feel freedom to move. Then the bandages from your hands. They fall and you feel the power to act. Finally, the shroud over your face falls. You open the eyes of your soul. All is clear. All is new. All is possible. Breathe and open your eyes to the day. You have risen, but now you must walk free. Do not live as if you still have bandages. Do not speak as if you were yesterday. Do not think as you once did. Unbind yourself and let the world see the new you. The command remains. Christ still says, "Unbind him and let him go." And you can respond every day, "I'm free, I'm clear, I'm ready." Chapter 5. The first 20-minute ritual. Waking is a resurrection, but not just any awakening. True awakening is done with intention, with awareness, with purpose. It is not simply opening your eyes, it is opening your soul. And in that sacred instant, the first 20 minutes of the day, the whole day is decided. I do not exaggerate when I say that the rest of your day obeys what you plant in those first minutes. There lies the secret, there lies the key. Have you ever felt that the day slips away, that it starts well but ends chaotic, that every effort seems futile? The reason is not what you do afterward. It is how you program yourself at the beginning. It is in that threshold between sleep and wakefulness that God is closest, the soul most receptive, and the subconscious most malleable. We call this period the holy moment. Brain waves are still in the alpha state, a gentle, receptive frequency, deeply connected. The body has not yet fully awakened, but the spirit is present. Everything imprinted here stays. Everything decreed here manifests. You cannot let this moment pass unnoticed. You cannot allow news, tasks, or fears to fill it. You must consecrate it. And for this, I present a ritual as simple as it is transformative. 20 minutes, 4 phases, 1 purpose, resurrection. Phase 1, minute 05, resurrection decree. As soon as you awaken, still in bed, whisper or speak aloud your resurrection decree. We have discussed this in previous chapters, but here we establish it as the first brick of the day. Remember, you are not informing the universe, you are commanding. You are affirming the truth you wish to live. You are setting the vibrational tone for the hours ahead. What to say? Here is a precise formula. Today is a new day. I am a new creation. The Christ lives in me and I rise in power. All that is good flows to me. I am alive. I am awake. I am blessed. Feel free to personalize it with your own words. What matters is that it is felt as a declaration from your higher self. Speak it firmly, unhurriedly. Feel your soul recognize it as truth. Phase 2, minutes 5:10, breath of life. Now that you have decreed your resurrection, it is time to activate the body with conscious breathing. Breath is the bridge between the invisible and the visible. To breathe is to receive life. To breathe with intention is to align with God. Practice the 4-7-8 technique, recommended by many sages and doctors, including Joseph Murphy, as a method to calm the nervous system. Inhale through the nose for 4 seconds and hold the breath for 7 seconds. Exhale slowly through the mouth for 8 seconds. Repeat this cycle for 5 minutes, about 6 full repetitions. During this process, focus on a divine word that uplifts you. Peace, life, light, love, Christ, thank you. Imagine that with each inhale you draw in the energy of the Spirit, and with each exhale you release the shadows of the ego. This is the true daily baptism, the consecrated breath. Phase 3, minutes 10-15, victorious visualization. The mind creates through images. If you do not give it a divine image, it will cling to old worries stored in the subconscious. In this phase, visualize, as if it were already real, your ideal day, your ideal self, your ideal life. Close your eyes, breathe deeply. Imagine walking through your day, seeing kind faces, receiving good news. Your body moves with energy. Your tasks flow with ease. You receive unexpected blessings. You bless others and are blessed in return. Everything unfolds with divine grace. Visualize yourself resolved, radiant, confident, loved, guided. Above all, imagine how you feel. This is key. Seeing is not enough. You must feel it as if it is already happening. This act is not fantasy. It is anticipatory mental creation. It is planting a seed in the invisible garden that will bear fruit in the visible world. Phase 4. Minutes 15-20. Commitment to action. It is not enough to decree, breathe, and visualize. You must commit, because faith without works is dead, and resurrection without action is merely a dream. During the final 5 minutes, take your journal, or do it mentally, and answer these 3 questions. What concrete action will I take today that reflects my new consciousness? Example, I will call the person I wish to reconcile with. I will exercise for 30 minutes. I will send that proposal with confidence. What attitude will I choose to maintain no matter what happens today? Example, gratitude, trust, serenity. What thought will accompany me as a mantra throughout the day? Example, everything works together for my good. God is in control. It is already done. Write these answers or repeat them mentally. The essential part is to commit to your new, resurrected identity. The power of consistency. 21 days to a new life. Countless testimonies show that those who practice this ritual each morning for 21 consecutive days experience remarkable transformations. A man unemployed for years was called for an interview on day 10. A woman with chronic anxiety stopped using her medications by day 15 under medical supervision. A student who repeatedly failed exams began visualizing success and passed with top marks. Nothing external changed, only their starting point shifted. How they began their day shifted, and everything else responded to that new frequency. Ritual variations according to needs. And for healing, during visualization, imagine your body radiant, regenerated, fully healthy. Add this decree: every cell obeys my faith. I am completely renewed for prosperity. For abundant channels, visualize abundant connections in your relationships. Add the decree, God is my source. For love and creativity, during breath, visualize peace entering your relationships. Add the decree, I forgive and am forgiven. Love guides my creativity. For inspiration, during visualization, see your ideas flowing like a river. Add the decree, the divine mind creates through me, I am inspired. 40-day resurrection tracking sheet. Draw a simple chart with 40 boxes. Each day you complete the ritual, mark a box, not out of obligation but out of joy. By day 40, you will not be the same. You will have been reborn. Skipping this ritual is like voluntarily returning to the tomb. It is dressing in shadows when the sun has already risen. But you have been called, awakened and instructed. Now you know that each morning you hold the power to write your destiny. Resurrect. Do your ritual, decree, breathe, visualize, act. The world needs the you that is reborn each day, and God waits in silence for you to say, I am ready. Here I go. Chapter 6. Rising from failure, the case of Peter. To fail is to die a little. It is to remain motionless in the middle of a path that once burned with purpose. It is to see promises collapse, strength diminish, and the soul appear to shrink. But failure is not the end. Failure is not condemnation. When understood from the truth, failure is a sacred opportunity to rise to a higher level of consciousness. For only those who have fallen deeply can rise with the strength of one who no longer fears. There is a scene in Scripture that contains within itself the mystery of this truth. The story of Simon Peter, the fervent disciple who swore eternal loyalty to Christ. Yet, he denied him 3 times on the darkest night. What does this represent? It represents the human who promises from the ego and fails from fear. It represents each of us when, under the weight of life, we betray our convictions, our ideals, our light. Peter did not fall out of malice. He fell out of weakness. He fell because he had not yet known the depths of the human soul, nor the magnitude of his own shadow. He had to fall, because his future mission required that he first die to the image he held of himself. And so it happens with all of us. Failure is not losing. Failure is breaking the old mold. It is letting go of the illusion of perfection. It is crossing the dark night to reach the dawn of a truer version of yourself. Imagine Peter's face when he heard the rooster crow. The rooster, symbol of the dawn, announces the truth. You have denied me. You claim not to know the Christ, yet the Christ has never stopped knowing you. Peter weeps, not from external shame, but because something inside him has broken. His heart has fallen apart. His character has collapsed. There, his resurrection begins, recognizing failure without drama. The first step to rising from failure is to recognize it without dramatizing it. There is no need for self-flagellation or drowning in useless guilt. Failure is a fact, and like any fact, it can be interpreted. You can see it as punishment, or you can see it as a portal. You can use it to sink or to elevate. To recognize is to say, yes, I failed. Yes, I did wrong. Yes, I made a mistake. But this does not define my essence. It does not cancel my purpose. It has no power to destroy what God has planted within me. By recognizing, we open the heart to teaching. Failure is a school. It is one of the sharpest instruments the Spirit uses to purify the soul. There are only 2 ways to live in error, with resentment or with wisdom. The choice is yours. Extracting the lesson is like mining gold from stone. It is seeing beyond the pain. It is asking, what truth did I ignore? What need did I try to avoid? What does this reveal about me? Where did I misplace my faith? When Peter denied his master, he did so not against him, but against himself. His fear outweighed his love. And this teaches us that every denial of the Christ is a denial of the higher self. Every time we choose doubt over faith, resentment over forgiveness, pride over humility, we are saying, I do not know him. But the Christ within us does not respond with punishment. It responds with a new calling. The call to rise again. On the shore of the lake, after the resurrection, Jesus meets Peter. He does not accuse him, nor remind him of his failure. He asks a simple, powerful question. Do you love me? And he does not ask once, but 3 times, one for each denial, and after each answer he gives a mission. Feed my sheep. This means the Master sees in Peter something greater than his failure. He sees a shepherd, a guide, a leader. He sees his future, not his past. And the same happens with you. Life asks, do you love yourself enough to continue? Do you love yourself enough to forgive yourself? Are you willing to care for what has been entrusted to you despite having failed? The soul that answers with sincerity is freed, and in that moment, it is necessary to declare closure. The past should not remain alive as a spectre haunting your present. It must be recognized, blessed, and released. You can do this through a decree, a mental and spiritual command that establishes a new reality. Here is one you can repeat with faith. I declare the end of this story. I am not my mistake. I am not my shadow. I am the child of God who learns, who advances, who rises. I forgive what has been. I am grateful for its lesson, and I open to the new day with a clean heart. Say it aloud. Feel each word dissolve a layer of heaviness. Feel your mind empty of resentment, and begin projecting your resurrected version. For no one leaves a tomb to remain still. One leaves to walk into a new life, and that life must be imagined. You must see it before it manifests. Close your eyes and look at yourself. See yourself as already healed, as if the error were an old page already read. See yourself acting with wisdom, speaking with firmness, walking with dignity. See yourself as who you were created to be, not from effort, but from revelation. You are not inventing a new self, you are remembering the original self, the one always behind the bindings. A letter from your higher self. If you wish, write a letter from your higher self to the self that failed. Tell it what it still needs to hear. Tell it is forgiven. Tell it was necessary. Tell it you love it. This letter is an act of resurrection. It is a bridge back to yourself. On this path, there is a powerful technique to use whenever your mind tries to remind you of failure as identity, mental transmutation. It consists of redirecting the thought toward its true opposite. If an image of defeat appears, affirm, "That was part of my training. Today I am stronger, wiser, truer." If shame arises, say, "Love has cleansed me. There is no condemnation. I am free." This shifts your internal vibration. This teaches your subconscious a new song. I have seen broken souls transformed into luminous leaders. I have seen ruined entrepreneurs become mentors. I have seen betrayed hearts open to love with greater purity. For failure, when honestly faced and consciously worked with, becomes a seed that germinates in the soil of faith and bears fruit in the perfect season. And there are no lost seasons for God. All can be redeemed, all can be healed, all can start again. If Peter, the one who denied, became the rock of the church, what can God not do with you? Who told you it is too late? Who made you believe there is no opportunity left? Failure is a door, but you decide whether to close it with fear or open it with courage. No more excuses, no permission required. The Christ within has already called you. He called you by name. And that call is not conditioned on your history, it is grounded in your essence. Be still now. Listen to the inner voice. It says, "Do you love me?" If you answer yes, then you are ready. And if you are ready, then feed my sheep. That is, live, serve, love, teach, guide, create, forgive, flourish. This is your resurrection, and it begins today. Chapter 7. Rising from addiction, leaving the chemical tomb. Being alive is not the same as living. There are bodies that walk, speak, and even laugh, yet inside they are dead. Not physically dead, but spiritually imprisoned in a cycle that consumes them from within, as if a shadow had taken hold of their will. That is addiction. Addiction is not merely a destructive habit. It is an active tomb, a cave where consciousness is trapped while the soul cries out for an escape that seems non-existent. The addict is not a sinner, they are a prisoner. Not weak by nature, but someone who has forgotten their strength. And that strength does not lie in human willpower, but in contact with the inner Christ, who remains intact even in the darkest corner. Addiction is the desperate attempt to fill a spiritual void with a chemical, physical, or behavioral substitute. But that void cannot be filled with smoke, alcohol, screen-induced dopamine, or a toxic relationship. Only God can fill God. When Christ called Lazarus out of the tomb, he did it to give him a second chance. He did it to teach us that even the dead in life can hear the divine voice. Lazarus was bound, and the addict is bound too, in hands, feet, and soul. The bindings of addiction are promises of immediate pleasure that deliver progressive slavery. The more they are sought, the farther freedom seems. One can leave that tomb, but not by human force alone. It requires a daily resurrection, a firm decision followed by a sacred ritual. It requires replacing the idol with the holy, impulse with prayer, habit with spirit. Addiction is not broken by fighting it directly. It is broken by filling the space where it grew. A garden is not cleared by yelling at the weeds. It is cleared by planting flowers, tending the soil, nurturing life. Likewise, the mind is not cleared by resistance but by substitution. I call this spiritual substitution. The void that addiction seeks to fill is real. It is the soul's cry for meaning, for connection, for relief. But if that cry is answered with substances, screens, compulsions, or evasions, the soul becomes more numb. The only true response is the divine presence, not as an idea, not as a shallow belief, but as direct experience. And that experience is achieved through a sacred morning practice, one stronger than any urge. Everything begins with a decision. Not a perfect decision, not definitive, not spectacular. A sincere choice is enough. Today I choose to live. That choice must be renewed every morning as a solemn vow before the mirror, before fear, before the past, before temptation. Those who have been addicted know well the urgency, the impulse that arises unannounced and consumes the mind. That is why the most powerful tool is to prepare the subconscious before the urge arrives. Joseph Murphy taught that what is repeatedly recorded in the deep mind becomes reality. Just as the addictive pattern was ingrained, a new one can be written. This is called subconscious saturation, a spiritual treatment of conscious-focused repetition. I propose that each morning, as soon as you wake, you repeat 100 times, yes, 100 times, a decree of freedom. It is not exaggeration, it is reprogramming. Each repetition is a new thread woven into the neural network of the soul. If for years you repeated mentally, I need it, I cannot leave it, without it I am nothing, now you will change the inner song. Here is the base decree inspired by 2 Corinthians 5:17. I am a new creation, the old has passed. Everything has been made new. Christ lives in me, and in him I am free. You may adapt it to your situation. God is my only source of joy. I am complete in his presence. I no longer seek outside what is only within. Every cell of my body rejects slavery. Every thought of mine is full of life. Today I walk in divine freedom. Say it with conviction. Even if you do not feel it at first, you are planting seeds, and what is sown cannot fail to bloom. I have witnessed souls emerge from years of addiction without ever returning, not through force, but through substitution. One wrote me, I did not overcome my addiction, I simply stopped giving it space. I filled my mind with God, my body with movement, my schedule with service. One day I realized the urge no longer ruled me. This is the essence. The tomb empties when the soul is filled. A 90-day protocol. It is not easy, but it is simple, and it works. If applied with faith and consistency, change becomes irreversible. Repeat your freedom decree 100 times each morning. You may divide it into 10 sets of 10 if needed. Do it with slow, conscious breathing and full presence. Perform the first 20-minute ritual. Begin with the resurrection decree, followed by the breath of life, victorious visualization, and commitment to action. Replace impulse with movement. When the desire arises, act physically. Walk, jump, recite a psalm, wash your face with cold water, sing a hymn. A moving body dissolves frozen mental patterns. Connect with another human. Addiction thrives in isolation. Call, write, share, confess. Showing your process is courage, not weakness. Close the day with the burial prayer. Declare dead any urge that tried to return. Release it. Forgive yourself. Sleep in peace. I assure you from direct experience and revealed truth that this protocol transforms not only your relationship with addiction, but your entire consciousness. It is not about never falling. It is about living resurrected every day. The one who falls but rises is stronger than the one who never fell, because they know the depths and therefore value the heights. And when the urge comes, and it will as waves do, you will have a ready response, a decree that severs, a word that illuminates. Here is a final one to recite when the old self tries to speak. Decree of total liberation. I am not this urge, I am not this memory. I am not this body craving its prison. I am the child of the living God. I am spirit, and spirit needs no chains. The past is dead. The Christ in me has risen. Today I walk in freedom. Today I am awake. Amen. Recite it firmly. Repeat it as often as needed. Write it down and carry it with you. Each morning remember, today is my resurrection. Today I leave the tomb. Today I am free, and so it will be. For what is decreed in the Spirit cannot be undone by darkness. For light, however small, always overcomes darkness. And you have been light from the beginning, forever and always. Chapter 8. Rising from depression, lifting from the mental tomb. Depression is not darkness. It is an accumulation of dark thoughts, repeated so many times that they became walls. It is a tomb carefully built, not in a day, but brick by brick, thought by thought, feeling by feeling. It was not constructed in a single act, but through the daily repetition of phrases like, I am worthless, it makes no sense, nothing will ever change. And so that sepulchre closed around the soul until what was once a vibrant heart felt like a shadow. Yet even when the tomb seems sealed, even when the stone is heavy, the voice of the inner Christ continues to call, "Come forth." Depression, as real as it may seem, is not a divine punishment, nor an eternal seal. It is a mental pattern, and every mental pattern can be undone. The soul was not created to live buried in thoughts of death. The soul was created to live in the light, and light can enter even through a crack, even through a single word. The most common mistake in facing depression is waiting to feel better before beginning to live. That is the trap, because the key is not in the feeling, but in the voluntary act that precedes the feeling. The stone does not move by itself, it must be pushed. You must act even when the body resists, when the mind says it makes no sense, when the heart seems mute. Precisely in that moment of greatest shadow, a single movement has the power to change everything. What you need is not an emotion. You need a resurrection protocol. Because rising is not a miracle that occurs by chance. It is a process that can begin with a single decision. Today I will not rebuild the tomb. Tomorrow you have two options: rebuild the bricks of despair, or step out through the smallest opening with a new thought. And for that thought to have power, it must be accompanied by action. Minimal action, but decisive. Action before feeling. Action before justification. Action as the seed of resurrection. I have seen it happen. I have seen souls lying on the bed of meaninglessness with lost eyes lift their gaze for a single word, a ray of light, a song they barely remembered. I have seen the Christ within them awaken the moment they took the smallest step, opening a window, washing their face, whispering, "I am not this." Remember this, you do not need to feel well to act. You need to act to begin feeling, because the soul moves with the body, because thought electrifies with air, with the sun, with the word, with intentional silence. Each morning, as soon as you open your eyes, choose not to remain in the tomb. It does not matter if the slab still feels heavy. It does not matter if you see no way out. Simply move. Breathe. Declare. Touch the earth with your feet and say, "Today I choose to rise." This is the beginning of the day. This is the sacred moment where your resurrection is decided. The Anti-Depression Morning Protocol. Based on eternal spiritual principles and the practice of those who have returned to life from the very depths of the abyss, it consists of 4 pillars. Immediate physical movement. Do not wait for strength. Movement gives strength. Stretch, raise your arms, sit on the bed, place your feet on the floor. This action breaks the seal of the mental tomb. It is the equivalent of removing the stone that blocks the entrance. Even if your mind says, "Stay," obey the higher voice. The body is the vehicle of the soul, and when the body moves, mental energy begins to flow. Declarations of life. Depression feeds on mental silence and the unconscious repetition of death phrases. You must create a new voice. Say aloud, even as a whisper, "The light of God is upon me, and no shadow can overcome me. Today is a new day. No matter how I feel, I act from my inner Christ. My thoughts are renewed. My mind is open. Today I choose to live. God breathes through me. God sustains me. God guides me. I am not alone." No. These are not mere affirmations. They are spiritual decrees, hammers breaking mental stones. Repeat them as you walk through your room. Open the window. Wash your face. The deep mind needs to hear a truth many times to stop believing a lie. Exposure to light. If you can receive sunlight, do so. If not, turn on a strong lamp. External darkness reinforces the internal tomb. Light literally transforms brain chemistry. Beyond science, light is a spiritual symbol of awakened consciousness. Look at the sky, even if it is cloudy. Step onto the balcony. Breathe. Feel that life continues. Minimal committed action. Not a heroic effort, not a titanic task. Just something to mark the beginning of a new day. Make the bed. Prepare a warm drink. Write a line in a notebook. Step outside. Anything that declares independence from the pattern of death. This protocol is your daily resurrection practice. Repeat it each day, even if it seems nothing changes. Resurrection is not always a flash. It is sometimes a timid flame that, with the breath of your perseverance, grows into fire. I know some days are darker than others. I know the voice of despair may scream loudly. But I also know, because I have seen it, that no shadow can extinguish a spark of decision. If you commit to this ritual for 21 days, you will see the pattern begin to break. If you continue for 90 days, you will be walking out of the tomb. Final tool for difficult days: infusion of light meditation. Sit with a straight spine, feet on the ground, close your eyes, breathe deeply. Imagine a soft white sun above your head, not burning but penetrating. Feel this light enter through your crown, filling your body from within. Sense it dissolving grey thoughts, chest knots, stiffness in the back. Visualize the light descending to your feet and then expanding around you like a protective mantle. Silently say, "This light is not mine, it is God's, and therefore it is eternal. It lives in me, even when I cannot see it. I am light in the midst of darkness. I am life where there was once death. Today I rise. Today I stand. Today I walk toward the light that has always called me." Remain there for a few minutes, then open your eyes, drink water, and begin your day. Remember, you are not alone. The Christ within you has not died, he only waits to be called. And each time you move, declare, act, that Christ activates. When he lives in you, the tomb loses its power. Do not rebuild today what you began dismantling yesterday. Every thought is a brick. Choose the thoughts with which you will build your tomorrow. Do not let habit return you to the sepulchre, for you were created to live in the sun, not in a cave. You are a child of God, and no child of God was made to live buried. Today is your resurrection. Today is the day you rise. Today the tomb is empty, and you finally walk into life. Chapter 9. Financial Resurrection, Rising from the Tomb of Scarcity. Scarcity does not begin in the wallet, nor in the bank, nor in the market. Scarcity begins in the mind, and it is there that it must also end. It is not the balance in your account that binds a man, but the hidden thought that says, "There is not enough. I don't deserve it. Money is dirty. I will never have enough." Each of these phrases is a bandage over your hands, your feet, your eyes. Mental bandages, perhaps inherited from your environment, your family, your culture. Bandages that bind your potential to prosper and, like Lazarus, leave you alive but immobile, conscious but bound, breathing yet buried in the tomb of scarcity. Just as addiction is a chemical tomb and depression is a mental tomb, poverty is a spiritual tomb where faith in God's abundance has been replaced by idolatry of fear. Today I want you to see your financial situation, whatever it may be, not as a sentence but as a mirror, a reflection of the consciousness you carry inside. Everything in your external life is a moving photograph of your mental equivalent. If your consciousness is filled with fear, life contracts. If your consciousness expands with trust, life responds. How to rise from the tomb of scarcity? Not through blind effort, not through despair, not through guilt over the past. The first thing you need is to die to the identity of scarcity. That identity which defines itself by lack, that speaks from "I don't have," that feels victimized by the system, that believes others control your economic destiny. This identity must die, and not slowly. It must be consciously buried now. Say aloud, "I renounce the identity of scarcity. I am no longer the one who cannot, who is insufficient, who limits himself. I am a child of God, heir to all spiritual wealth. And as it is inside, so it manifests outside. Today the poor self you believed yourself to be dies. Today the open channel of God's abundance is born. This is the truth. You were not destined for lack. You were not created to live in scarcity. You were created as a channel, not as a closed container, but as a river through which God's provision flows. Yet a channel can be blocked, and those blockages are the limiting thoughts you have repeated unconsciously. You have said, "Money is not spiritual. If I have more, others will have less. I cannot live doing what I love. Money divides. If I earn more, I am ambitious." Each of these thoughts has made a crack in your channel, and when the channel becomes obstructed, it begins to dry up. People see the dryness and call it a crisis, but the true crisis is in consciousness. To resurrect financially, you do not need a stroke of luck, nor an inheritance in waiting. What you need is to awaken to the consciousness of prosperity, and this consciousness is not inherited nor purchased. It is cultivated every morning. Morning Ritual of Prosperity. If practiced with faith and consistency, this ritual has the power to restructure your entire economic reality, not because the outside world changes, but because your vibration, perception, and point of attraction shift. The ritual has 4 steps: gratitude, visualization, decree, and action, to be done within the first 20 minutes of the day when the mind is still in an alpha state. Receptive, plastic, and moldable. Gratitude for what exists. No matter how little you think you have, there is always something to thank. Your bed, your breath, life itself, food. Gratitude acknowledges the good already present, and what is recognized multiplies. Speak it aloud, and thank you, God, for waking me today. Thank you for all I have. Thank you for every sign of your provision. Today I recognize your abundance in my life. Visualization of abundance flowing. Do not focus on exact amounts. Focus on sensations, doors opening, bills being paid, money flowing without resistance, opportunities arriving, ideas materializing. Close your eyes and see it as if it is already happening. Breathe it, feel it, savor it with your soul. Decree of open channels. This is not a request. It is a spiritual command rooted in the truth of your being. Say, I am a clean and free channel through which God's abundance flows. Every blocked channel in my mind is now cleared. Every belief in scarcity dies today. I am prosperity in action. God is my source, and my source is inexhaustible. Committed productive action. Do not wait for inspiration. Act. Make a call. Review your accounts with love, not fear. Create something. Sell something. Propose something. Write, plant, organize, decide. Prosperity is movement, circulation, energy. It is not sitting and waiting for a miracle. It is moving in faith toward good. Many have practiced this ritual for 21 consecutive days and witnessed proposals, sales, solutions, ideas, and new paths appear. God works not in passivity, but in active faith. Deep practice, subconscious reprogramming. Ideas of poverty may be so rooted in you that even when you speak aloud, your heart still doubts. That is why the morning imprinting technique taught by Murphy is so powerful. As soon as you wake, while still between sleep and wakefulness, repeat a single phrase of spiritual wealth 100 times if possible, like a mantra, like a drum awakening your prosperous DNA. You can use God is my wealth, God is my wealth, God is my wealth. Repeat without analyzing. Let it penetrate. Inscribe itself in your subconscious as a new commandment. If you wish, begin a financial resurrection journal. Each day, write one piece of evidence, no matter how small, of prosperity. A gift, a saving, a new idea, a shared meal, a new client, a paid debt, a found bill. What is recorded is valued, and what is valued multiplies. It takes time, but it is certain. This is not a lottery. It is spiritual sowing that bears fruit if you do not abandon it. Remember Philippians 4:19. My God shall supply all your needs according to his riches in glory by Christ Jesus. This is not a metaphor. It is a law. If God said it, who are you to doubt? When fear arises, when an unexpected debt appears, when the old voice tries to say that all is lost, declare this financial resurrection decree. My provision does not depend on the world, but on God. Divine abundance is real, present, and inexhaustible. I am one with the principle that provides, and all that I need has already been given to me. Today I open myself without fear to receive it. Seal the pattern, visualization of the rivers of gold. Close your eyes. Imagine standing before a wide, serene river, but it is not water flowing. It is liquid gold, bright and soft. It does not burn. It does not weigh. It is living energy. Feel this river bifurcate into 7 directions, each representing a channel in your life. Health, money, work, ideas, relationships, creativity, service. See each channel filling with gold and you at the center, receiving all you need to share without fear, live without scarcity, serve without depletion. Say aloud, this river is not mine, it is God's, but I am its channel. I will allow no more blockages. Flow abundance, flow blessing, flow life. You were not born to survive, you were born to manifest God's glory in every area of your existence, including your finances. The kingdom of heaven is also manifested on earth when a child of God stops thinking like a beggar and begins to think like an heir. Today is your day of financial resurrection. Do not postpone it. The tomb is open. The bandages have fallen. The rivers of gold are already flowing toward you. Chapter 10. Resurrecting Dead Relationships. The Power of Forgiveness. There are tombs that are not found underground but in the human heart. Emotional tombs dug by resentment, bitterness, pain, betrayal, and pride. They are dead relationships, broken bonds, ties that once brought joy and then became prisons of pain or absence. Within these tombs we often bury unspoken words, gestures withheld, shared dreams that never saw the light. And each of us, at some point, has sat at the entrance of such a tomb asking ourselves, can this ever be resurrected? Or am I doomed to live with this stone pressing on my chest, this knot in my throat, this wounded love? Just as Lazarus lay in the tomb for 4 days before hearing the voice that called him out, many of our relationships also lie there, waiting for the miracle. But the miracle does not begin with the other person, nor even with the past. It begins with an act of spiritual power, the only act capable of removing the stone from the entrance: forgiveness. It is easy to think that the death of a relationship is the final act of the other person, their betrayal, their indifference, their abandonment, their violence. This is the narrative of the victim. Yet, whoever remains trapped in that story becomes their own jailer, perpetuating the pain long after the physical absence. Resentment is the stone that keeps us in the tomb, even when the sun shines outside. The resurrection of a relationship, or of yourself. The resurrection of a relationship, or of yourself after a relationship, always begins with a morning decree of forgiveness. I am not speaking of superficial social forgiveness. I speak of the forgiveness that opens portals in the soul, that cuts cords of dependence, that frees stagnant energy. This is the forgiveness that does not wait for the other to change, to apologize, or to repair. It is forgiveness given because you desire your own freedom, because you know deeply that no being deserves to be chained to the past. Before calling Lazarus out of the tomb, Christ ordered those present to remove the stone. This is a powerful symbol. It is not enough to pray or wish for change. A concrete, physical action is required to symbolize your willingness to let life back in. In the case of a relationship, this action is the act of forgiving from the heart. Forgiveness is not forgetting, not justifying the harm, not denying the wound. It is releasing the burden, letting go of the right to revenge, reproach, or punishment. In other words, it is saying, this no longer has power over me. There are 2 possible paths in forgiving a dead relationship: resurrection of the relationship, when both parties are willing to be reborn in love. Personal resurrection, when the bond cannot or should not be restored, but one frees oneself to continue living unchained. Both paths require the death of the victim narrative. As long as you say, this was done to me, it's not my fault, it's all the other person's doing, you cannot release the stone, you cannot resurrect. True forgiveness arises from recognizing your own participation, even if it is only your decision to remain bound to the past. Christ teaches, "For if you forgive men their trespasses, your heavenly Father will also forgive you. But if you do not forgive men their trespasses, neither will your Father forgive your trespasses." Matthew 6:14-15. This is not about punishment, but about spiritual law. A mind that does not release cannot receive. If your hands are busy holding grievances, you cannot receive blessings. Often what hurts most about a dead relationship is not the other person, but the broken image of ourselves, the wounded pride, the shame, the lost illusion. Therefore, forgiveness must also be directed inward. I forgive myself for expecting what never came. I forgive myself for not setting boundaries. I forgive myself for not speaking to God sooner. I forgive myself for loving half-heartedly or too much. I forgive myself for closing my heart. Without self-forgiveness, the cycle never closes. Practical spiritual exercise, the absent treatment. There is a powerful spiritual technique taught by Joseph Murphy. Each morning, dedicate a minute to the person with whom you have conflict, regardless of distance, whether they no longer speak to you or have passed away. Visualize them in front of you, wrapped in light. Silently or aloud say, "I bless you, I release you, I forgive you, and I let you go. I ask for all the good for you that I ask for myself." Do this for 21 consecutive days and observe how your energy changes. Sometimes the miracle occurs and the relationship is restored. Other times you simply stop carrying it like a cross. In both cases, forgiveness itself is the miracle. Forgiveness letter exercise. Take paper and pen. Write everything you feel about this person or relationship. No filter, no corrections. Let the pain, anger, and disappointment flow. Then change tone. Write from your higher self, the self that knows nothing was in vain, that all contributed to your awakening. Write, I forgive you and I forgive myself. I release you and I release myself. I am grateful for what we shared. I let this bond go and I let you depart in peace. Do not send the letter. Burn it as a symbolic act of release. Watch the smoke rise and feel the bond sever. Nothing and no one can bind you to a relationship if you decide to release the past. Even if the other person does not accept, change, or acknowledge, it does not matter. The miracle occurs within you, not in the external world. I have seen relationships that seemed irreparable heal in an instant when one person chose forgiveness from the soul. I have seen parents and children reunite after years of silence, simply because one chose blessing over resentment. I have seen people love better after forgiving themselves completely. I have also seen souls resurrect from impossible relationships, leaving painful attachments behind, and flourish in new friendships, new loves, and a freedom never before experienced. Morning meditation, cutting cords. To seal this emotional resurrection, perform the cord-cutting meditation each morning. Sit in silence. Close your eyes. Visualize the person with whom the unresolved bond exists. Imagine a cord, an energetic tie between you. Do not judge it, simply observe. Now with an imaginary hand, take scissors of light and gently cut the cord without anger. As you do so, softly say, I release you and I release myself. Now each follows their own path in peace. True love does not bind. True love blesses. Feel a new peace filling your chest. Breathe deeply and begin your day without that stone on your heart. Forgiveness is the door to resurrection. Without forgiveness, every relationship is a cycle of death and resentment. With forgiveness, even what seemed lost can be reborn, even if in a new form. Removing the stone is your task. The miracle is God's task, but God cannot resurrect what you refuse to release. Today you have the power to transform dead relationships into opportunities for life. Today, you can choose to leave the emotional tomb and walk lightly into the sun. Today, you can bless, release, give thanks, and move forward. Resurrection is not always returning to the other. Sometimes it is returning to yourself. Make this day an altar of forgiveness. Remove the stone, call love in. Let the miracle occur within you, and watch as the tomb fills with light, and you begin to live again. Chapter 11. The Resurrected Body. Physical Healing Through the Mind. To live is more than moving. It is more than having a pulse. To live is to experience the fullness of every cell, to feel the body as a temple inhabited by the Spirit. It is to manifest in the flesh the splendor of eternal life vibrating behind all form. Yet for many, the body has become a silent tomb. Chronic illness is that state in which movement becomes heavy, energy diminishes, the mind encloses itself in pain, and the soul seems to withdraw. To die while living is to surrender to the idea that illness is stronger than health. It is to resign oneself to living with limitation, with symptoms, with fear. But the truth is different. Health is our natural state, and physical resurrection is possible when the mind awakens and calls the body out of its tomb. Lazarus left the tomb bound, immobilized. Similarly, many bodies live restrained by symptoms, diagnoses, labels. The bandages of illness not only cover the flesh, but also wrap around consciousness. I am chronic, my disease is hereditary, this has no cure, pain is part of my life. These are mental bandages that bind the expression of life. But if the eternal Christ could say, unbind him and let him go, he can also do the same in your body today if you open the door of faith. Physical healing is not merely a biological matter. It is a profound work that begins in the mind. Every cell listens to the words, beliefs, and decrees emitted by consciousness. Cells are obedient. They are the silent workers of the Spirit. If you speak to them tomorrow from fear, the body responds with tension, inflammation, and wear. If you speak from health, certainty, and love, the body responds with renewal, strength, and vitality. Thus, the resurrection of the body begins with a morning decree directed to every cell. I am not speaking of denying the symptom or rejecting medical help. Professional attention is always a channel of divine good and should be honored. I speak of assuming the mental and spiritual power God has placed in your hands. The same power that raised Lazarus dwells within you and is activated when you think, feel, speak, or imagine. The healing protocol. Identify the mental origin of the symptom. Ask yourself, What thought, emotion, or pattern preceded this ailment? What story have I told about my body? What fear do I carry in my memory? Sometimes pain signals unexpressed resentment, unspoken sadness, or inherited fear. Even if you do not see it clearly, merely asking opens the door to healing. Decree the death of the causative pattern. Declare with authority, this pattern of illness no longer has power in my life. I acknowledge its message, I am grateful, and I release it. Today, a new consciousness is born, a clean mind, a body open to health. Visualize your resurrected, glorious body. Do this upon waking when the bridge between the visible and invisible is most open. Do not linger on the image of your sick, weak, limited body. Project yourself into the vision of a healthy, agile, radiant body. Imagine every organ functioning in perfect harmony. Feel energy flowing, blood carrying life, lungs breathing freedom, the heart beating joyfully, skin shining with health. Make this image your daily refuge. Accompany this visualization with the decree of perfect health, based on the biblical promise. Beloved, I pray that you may prosper in all things and be in health, just as your soul prospers. 3. John 1:2. Repeat. Health prospers in my body because it prospers in my mind and spirit. Every cell is bathed in God's healing light. Today I rise in power, in joy, and in perfect vitality. Do not wait to feel completely well to act from health. Act first. Make even a small movement of wellness. Walk, step outside, sing, laugh, help someone, prepare a healthy meal. Every act of life is an announcement to the body. We no longer live in the tomb. We are no longer slaves to diagnosis. We are free. Small actions multiply when done with faith. Murphy Technique, cellular imprinting. Repeat the visualization and decree not just once, but as often as possible, especially in the morning and before sleep. Let the image of health penetrate deeply, replacing the old image of a limited body. The mind that bathes in images of health eventually convinces the body of its new reality. Many documented cases show astonishing remissions. Men and women labeled hopeless transformed their bodies by changing mental and emotional patterns, aligning faith, and practicing daily spiritual exercises. This does not negate medicine. It complements it with the creative power of thought. The mind does not heal alone, but without it, healing is incomplete. Daily practice, cellular dialogue. Each morning upon waking, place your hands on the part of the body needing attention most. Breathe deeply and speak softly but firmly. Thank you, cells, for your constant work. I bless you, fill you with God's light. You know how to heal. Today you are ordered to restore, rejuvenate, and function perfectly. I release you from all fear, from all memory of pain. Together, we choose life. Do this for 3 minutes. Feel energy moving, the body responding. Any emotion that arises is part of the cleansing process. For those who prefer a symbolic act, perform a healing light visualization for specific organs. Envision the affected area bathed in a golden sphere of light. Feel this light penetrate every cell, dissolve shadow, repair damage, and restore function. Declare, this light is God's presence in me. No cell is forgotten, no corner is dark. All is renewed, all is restored, all is resurrected. No word of faith is ever lost. Every mental image of health is a seed. Sometimes it germinates quickly, sometimes slowly, but with consistency, perseverance, and alignment with human means of healing, your body will become a daily stage for miracles. There is no case impossible for the principle of life. No diagnosis is stronger than grace. Today, I invite you to leave the tomb of resignation, to remove the bandages of I can't, I'll never heal. This is forever. The Christ within you calls each cell to awaken, to dance, to celebrate life. Choose to act from health, even if the body still suffers. Choose to bless your symptoms. Choose to trust, even if the process takes time. Make every day an act of physical resurrection. You are not your illness nor your diagnosis. You are the channel of life. You are the temple where God dwells, and in that temple, light always triumphs over shadow. Today is the day. Today your body rises. Today you awaken in health because the Spirit that created you has never stopped loving you for a single moment. And that Spirit says, come forth, remove your bandages and walk. Chapter 12. Living resurrected, maintaining a consciousness of renewed life. To be resurrected once may feel like the greatest of miracles, but the true art, the authentic challenge, is to live resurrected. Human life, with its inertia, its habits, its external and internal voices, tends to pull us back toward the tomb of the old consciousness. And there is no tomb harder to leave than the one we ourselves return to voluntarily, by habit, by forgetfulness, by the force of routine. After that cry, Lazarus, come forth, and after being unbound, do you think Lazarus simply went back to his routine as if nothing had happened? No. He had to learn to live without bandages, to walk in the light, to move in a world that had once been forbidden. Learning to be free is for many more difficult than the resurrection itself, because living resurrected requires loving vigilance over thought, daily loyalty to a renewed consciousness, a constant yes to life. This is where many fall. They feel the spark of resurrection, one day of clarity, a week of enthusiasm, a month of abundance, a moment of peace. But then, when the old shadow calls, when the world seems unresponsive, when the past whispers, they return to the tomb. They wrap themselves again in the bandages of habit, worry, fear, self-limitation. It is not sin, it is human, but it is not necessary. The secret to maintaining the resurrected state is not in a rare grand effort, but in creating points of resurrection throughout the day, small pauses, moments of consciousness where you ask sincerely, am I living resurrected or have I returned to the tomb? The mind needs reminders, the emotion needs anchors, the soul needs to be called to the present. The morning resurrection is not enough. You must resurrect again and again as often as necessary. Thus, what began as a miracle becomes a habit. These points of resurrection can be set every 3 hours, with a signal, a word, a small act, placing your hand on your chest, taking a deep breath, looking at the sky, repeating a brief decree. Now I resurrect. Now I save from the tomb. Now I remove the bandage of doubt. Just as the ancients prayed at every hour, you can sanctify your day with small acts of resurrection, not to feel guilty if you fell, but to remind yourself that you can always choose life. Recognizing relapses. The signs of a relapse in the consciousness of the resurrected are subtle but clear. Unfounded irritation, automatic fearful thoughts, a sense that nothing matters, discouragement, self-criticism, gossip, judgment of others, desire to give up. When you notice these signs, do not be afraid. Do not punish yourself. Recognize them as invitations to re-resurrect. The true resurrected is not the one who never falls, but the one who knows how to rise quickly, who does not allow the tomb to close the entrance again. Immediate re-resurrection protocol. As soon as you notice a relapse, stop, pause, breathe, close your eyes. Remember the power that inhabits you. Repeat quietly, now I choose life. Now I save from the tomb of old thought. Now I am light in the shadow. Visualize for an instant how invisible bandages fall away. Feel the weight release, the energy return. Take a symbolic step, however small. Stand up, drink water, stretch. Speak a word of blessing. This interrupts the cycle and reminds you that resurrection is not a single event, but a continuous process, a perpetual forward movement. The discipline of resurrected life. Many believe spiritual transformation happens in days or weeks. The truth is that resurrected living is a joyful discipline cultivated year after year. I have known men and women who maintained their inner renewal for decades, not because they were perfect, but because they never ceased returning to the source. Their secret was the humility to recognize each return to the tomb as an opportunity to come back into the light with greater consciousness, greater love. To maintain your resurrected state, I suggest creating a resurrection log. Once a week, take a few minutes to record. How many times did I feel full, free, awake? How many times did I return to the tomb and what thought or situation triggered it? How did I respond and what did I learn? Do not judge as you write. Observe, understand, be grateful. The log is not to monitor yourself, but to testify to your progress, to celebrate days of light and learn from gray days. Over time, you will see that the periods in the tomb shrink and the time in the light lengthens. Throughout the day, carry maintenance decrees, small phrases to whisper at any moment. I live resurrected. Life in me is stronger than the shadow. Today I walk in the light of my inner Christ. The tomb is no longer my home. The bandages have fallen. God renews me here and now. Use them while walking, working, facing challenges, or feeling the urge to return to old ways. Spoken with intention, a word has immediate power. It is a reminder, a command to the subconscious, a call to truth. Even Lazarus had to learn to live outside the tomb. His muscles were stiff, his skin weak, his mind perhaps confused. But step by step, day by day, the body and soul adapt to freedom. Likewise, at first the light may dazzle you, the new life may scare you, the mind may miss the old chains. But as long as you continue choosing life, removing bandages, stepping into the sun, your higher consciousness will become your permanent dwelling. Do not fear relapse, do not fear the tomb. The tomb exists only to remind you of the joy of leaving it. Every death is a prelude to rebirth. Spiritual life is an eternal cycle of resurrection. You die to the old version, you are born into a new one. Nothing is lost, everything transforms. Step by step, you rise to your highest expression. Final visualization. Imagine for a moment that you are Lazarus, not in the tomb but already outside. You look back and see the empty cave, the discarded bandages, the light pouring through the open doorway. You walk toward the horizon, light unburdened, without shadow, without fear. You feel life penetrate and guide you. You know yourself renewed, free. You feel gratitude, and in that instant, commit to living, not merely existing, choosing light, not merely avoiding darkness, blessing each fallen moment. Because you know each resurrection makes you stronger, truer, more yourself. So may it be in every day, every hour, every moment. May you live resurrected today and always. May the tomb remain behind, and may the light be your only destiny.